Hello, everyone.
How's everybody doing? We went to a very fun function tonight. I guess you could call it. It's called Once Upon a Generation 2022. They've been doing it for quite a few years, I guess, and they take senior stories,
Senior citizens
senior citizens write stories
and
of their youth or something that stands out in their life,
from
or
5 to 25, she said she likes to use.
right.
And they have a middle school student tell the story or kind of act it out. So it was really interesting, and
It was.
the kids did really, really good. It was really interesting, and it was fun. They call it Bridging Generations Together. So it was a lot of fun. We hope you guys will enjoy it.
It was like awesome. It was like it brought laughter to your belly and a tear to your eye. I swear.
Definitely a tear to my eye.
I couldn't even believe it. You know, Susie cries easy, so I'm sure she was wailing away. In fact, we had to wear masks, and she said she was crying so hard that her nose was running. She was glad she had a mask.
I was glad I had my mask on. Nobody could tell my nose was running because I didn't have a Kleenex.
It's crazy. So, anyways, I've got it edited and put together for you all. I hope you enjoy it. You know, get out the laughing gas and the crying towel because you're going to need both. So, okay,
Thanks
enjoy.
for watching.
Welcome tonight. So glad the rain ended and that everybody didn't have to slosh their way through tonight. We sloshed around today with my mother-in-law. We had fun running through the raindrops. So, this is the 7th year of our program, our Once Upon a Generation program. And before we begin, we want to thank the Freetown Historical Society. They always open their doors to this program, and we love coming here, and the children and the seniors do as well. And we also want to thank the local cultural council of Lakeville, because they gave us a grant this year to continue this program. So we're grateful to them. Their support is appreciated. Now, last year, we were unable to have an in-person performance because of well-known reasons. The year before that, we didn't have any performance at all, but the children and the seniors still met on Zoom 3 times just so they could keep that connection. And then last year, we met on Zoom and kept the program going, thanks to Mrs. Lovett, who taught the seniors how to Zoom. and the seniors jumped right on board. That was wonderful. And of course, the students already knew how to Zoom. So we kept it going that way, and they loved it. And Seekonk Channel 9 let Andrea and I into the studio, and they zoomed in the performances. So we were able to continue it, but not in person. So we're so happy to be back here in person this year. And we had our first performance last week at the Lakeville Library, and this is the last one for this year. And of course, as always, we look forward to seeing everyone again next year if they're so inclined. Now, I was out in the audience recruiting members already. A little background for those of you who are new here tonight. All of these students were students of mine at the George R. Austin Middle School. I run a storytelling after-school program, so at one time or another, they were with me as a 4th grader or a 5th grader, and now we have one of our students tonight is an 8th grader, one is a freshman in high school, 2 are sophomores, and so they have been with this program for a while, but we have 2 brand new students this year. We have a 4th grader and a 5th grader from George R. Austin Middle School that were part of the storytelling program. So we're delighted. This is an invitation-only program. When Andrea and I see a student that really has a spark for storytelling and takes to the process, we ask them if they would like to join the program. And it is a big commitment on their part and for the parents as well. So we do thank parents who allow their children to be part of this program. Now, 7 years ago, my colleague Andrew Levitt and I talked about doing something like this, and we finally got it off the ground, and it's been going strong ever since. So Andrea, tell a little bit about the program, please.
It always makes me laugh when you say, especially to you guys, I got everybody on Zoom, and then you should see me trying to do breakout rooms. Hold on, one more minute. So we started this program, like you said, 7 years ago, and we have the seniors come, and we get their stories. We have to find stories, we have to write stories. Actually, they write their own stories now, and they are incredible. And then we choose the students who's going to match, and we already have one given, it was Pat, with Boston and Boston, because they've been with them forever. And they listen to the stories, and then they rewrite the stories, and then we have a time to come back and see if everything checks off, so there's no glaring what do you call it?
Any glaring errors?
Errors,
You know,
yes.
that really, the story wouldn't make sense if they didn't say it.
So then they, when they do that, the older group this year really did a lot of it on their own. They were pretty amazing. And the younger ones, they were kick butt.
Yes, they were, absolutely. And we wanted to share tonight, unfortunately, 2 of our seniors are not with us this evening. William had a vacation planned for tonight down in Maryland with his daughter, but Alexis will be telling his story. But he was kind enough, he called my phone about 20 minutes ago and he said, "Is Alexis there?" He was driving through DC and he wanted to talk to her. So that's the kind of connection these children make with the seniors and the seniors make with the children. They do.
It's just amazing.
It is. And Pat Cernine, the tandem team will be telling his story. He had a minor surgery today. He is fine, but he sends his best wishes to you boys. And one of our storytellers who is fabulous and has been with us almost from the very beginning, Kaya, who tells Winston Lyford's story. Unfortunately, she is ill tonight. And Andrew and I took quite a bit of discussion with her to convince her to stay home and take care of herself. Because she's really a perfectionist and she wants to be here. So we're missing a few of our wonderful members tonight, but we know that those that are here will do a great job for you.
But you can catch them all on Lake Cam. They were recorded last week. And if you haven't gotten the link, we can get it to you.
Lake Cam Channel 9 in this area. They filmed the whole thing last week.
So, shall we get started? Oh, I forgot my glasses. Hang on.
Do you want mine?
No. Oh, Alexis is new to us this year. She took Mrs. Chase's Folk Tales and Fairy Tales course earlier in the year. Alexis is a natural storyteller, she is, boy, and a real joy to work with. She is talented, taken direction, see my glasses well, and has put her own touches on the story. This is the one you're about to hear. It's truly, we are thrilled to have you, and we hope you'll be back next year. So that's twice, right? So this is called the Annual Sunday Picnic. This is William Bell, who the story is about at a younger age. Please welcome to the stage Alexis Allen.
Welcome, everyone. Hi, my name is Alexis Allen, and I will be telling the story of the annual Sunday school picnic. So, it all started out one evening when I woke up from the sun shining through a hole in my window shade. And I quickly ran to the kitchen to see Mom. Mom, when are we leaving? Don't I get a good morning? Oh yeah, good morning, Mom. I'll tell you when it's time to go. Now go eat your breakfast and get ready. After I gobbled down my breakfast, I quickly ran to my room to see all the clothes I laid out the night before. The clothes included A pair of freshly washed and starched Levi's with a crease down the middle. That's how cool kids wore then. A white t-shirt and a Brooklyn Dodgers baseball cap. You probably wondered, why would an African-American kid from Pittsburgh be wearing a Brooklyn Dodgers baseball cap and not Pittsburgh's Pirates hat? It's simple. The Brooklyn Dodgers team are the only major league with an African-American player on it. We're all very proud of him. Come on, sweetie, it's time to go. Going to the train station. I gotta go! After what seemed like an eternity had only been 5 minutes, we were waiting at the train station for the train to arrive. After a couple minutes, the big black train finally arrived with a giant whoosh of steam. Our parents could hardly hold us back. We were so excited to collect our seats. After we got on the train, the conductor said, "Come on, kids, get settled in so I can collect your tickets." "I don't need no stinking tickets," clapped Joe. We were all laughing at Joe's wisecrack. When we arrived at Youngstown, I was not prepared for what I saw. There were so many black people here. They looked just like me. There were so many games to go to, but first we had to find our headquarters for the day. Picnic area, but still our headquarters. After we found that, we were off like a shot. So many things to do, roller coasters, carnival rides, anything. But the bumper cars were our favorite. We treated the bumper cars like the demolition derby, bouncing into each other until the operator made the ride shorter and shorter, shorter. But we still went on them until he finally kicked us out. I wonder why. After we were a little hungry, so we went to the food court. There was popcorn, candy, ice cream, cotton candy, anything you could think of. After we gobbled it down, we went to the games. We thought we had the best day ever. We thought we would be super lucky. We tried darts, we tried whack-a-mole. We weren't good at any of them. No teddy bears for us today, I guess. Then we went to the Penny Arcade. When I was in the Penny Arcade, I saw a recording booth over there. You could get a small recording the size of a CD just for 75 cents. And I thought today was the perfect day to make a new song, am I right? And then we heard a dreaded announcement. The conductor said, "The train will be leaving in 1 hour, kids." We went back to headquarters to meet up with our families. And when I look back to those sweet summer days, I can remember how much fun I had with all my friends. The end.
You will see her one day get an Academy Award. She is a first-year storyteller. Her mother told me, she said, well, she loves to perform. I said, yes, she does, but she also knows when to pull it back, because sometimes they get way too out of bounds, and she does a perfect job. Mrs. Lovedine would just say she's internalized that story so well, it's almost like it's hers, and she said some things tonight that she didn't say last week, which means she feels very comfortable playing with that story. Lovely job, Alexis, thank you. Thank you for starting us off in style. Our next storyteller is a freshman at Aponequid. As I mentioned in the introduction, we see the students and seniors we haven't seen them in person since 2020, only on Zoom. And this year it seems as if the older students all of a sudden sprouted into full-grown adults. It's unbelievable. I have one of my students here from last year, from this past year, was a storyteller, Kennedy, and her brother is one of our storytellers. And he came with his dad to pick her up one day, and I did kind of like this. I just couldn't believe how tall he was. It was unbelievable. And so Lexi started out with me as a 4th grader at Grays, and she's grown into a lovely young woman. So much so that last week, when we were at the Lakeville Library, we were waiting for the children to come and arrive at 6 o'clock, and, you know, Andrew and I go, "Where's Lexi?" I said, "That's really odd, she's always on time, where is she? Oh my goodness, let me call her mother, find out if something's happened." And so I call the mother, and she says, "She should be there, they left like 20 minutes ago." And then all of a sudden, Lexi is right there next to me. She said, because she called her husband and said, "Where are you?" And Lexi came up and she said, "I'm here." But she had her hair down, she didn't have her glasses on, she was in a beautiful dress and high heels. I didn't recognize her. She was in the room, and I've known her since 4th grade and didn't recognize her. They grow up far too fast. Lexi always finds a way to bring out the absolute best in a story, infusing it with enthusiasm and charm. She will be telling Beatlemania, written by Carol Foster from Lakeville, who is the newest addition to this program, our newest senior. We're delighted to have her. Please welcome Lexi True.
And I'll be telling Carol's story, Beatlemania. The time has come for me to plan my escape from North Ridgeville, Ohio. In 1960, John F. Kennedy was elected president, and his wife Jackie Kennedy quickly became a trendsetter. I noticed that all the comments on her fashion and hairstyles, etc., were made by women. It was then that I realized that there was another career option out there besides nursing and teaching, which I knew weren't for me, and that was fashion. In 1963, one of the major Cleveland department stores was giving away a scholarship to the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. Fashion in New York spoke to me, and I knew that that was what I wanted to do. And after getting the scholarship, that's exactly what I did. During my freshman year at FIT, the Beatles came to the United States for the first time to perform on the Ed Sullivan Show. This was a huge deal because in America, we'd only heard stories about the Beatles, and everybody was thrilled to see them live. I convinced 2 friends of mine to come with me to the Plaza Hotel in hopes of seeing the infamous Beatles before their performance. Imagine our surprise when hundreds of other people had the exact same idea. We ended up joining this humongous crowd of fans, and every time a shadow would darken a window, the crowd rose up in a roar of excitement, hoping for a Beatles sighting. But after about an hour of false Ringos and fake Lennons, my friend turned to me and said, "This is dumb," and I had to agree. The next day, my friend's father brought a portable black and white television and hooked it up in our dorm. The entire floor packed into her room, and at 8, the show began. I honestly don't remember a single other guest that night because the second the Beatles appeared on the screen, the entire room erupted. People were screaming out the names of their favorites. Ringo! Ah! I'm on top of the bed with 6 other girls screaming and jumping, and I don't think anybody heard a second of that performance, but it was awesome. We skip over to a late night in June 1964. My friend Sandy bursts into my dorm saying, "Murray the K is interviewing the Rolling Stones at the Wynn Studio tonight." I had no clue who the Rolling Stones were, but my roommate was very excited, so why not? We head over to Central Park West and waltz straight into the studio, where we find a few other girls also waiting. It turns out none of us had to wait long because all 5 of the Stones come rushing out of a limo and past us to the upstairs studio. I was a bit taken aback by their look, the scraggly hair and dirty jeans, just overall a bit unattractive. And on the way home, I asked my friend, "Why do you like this band?" Because having not heard any of their music, I didn't really see it. Her answer was, "Their music is different than anything else out there. It's even better than the Beatles." And a week later, we were all headed home for summer break. I was thrilled to share my big city stories with the people of North Ridgeville, Ohio. But it turned out when I got home, no one in town cared. Thank you.
Please enjoy Our next story told by Kim. Hold That Tiger, and this is Joe Sylvia, who is around here somewhere, story. I don't know where he is. He's disappeared. So come on up, Kim.
The mic, yeah, it's gonna be higher.
Do you want me to fix it up? Is that all right? I can do that.
Thank you.
You're a girl of all trades. Separate others.
Hi, my name is Cameron Poirier, and today I will be telling Joe's story, Hold That Tiger.
Oh,
A circus came to Fall River in 1964. With my parents and younger brother David, we headed down to the Fall River Shopping Center where the circus was located. I was in high school, and David was in junior high. The circus was set up directly on the asphalt parking lot. Around the circus area were parked cars. Father parked our car on the opposite side of the short Jersey parking barriers. This way we could leave more easily without being surrounded by other cars. Mother stayed in the car reading her romance novel while Father, David, and I headed up to the circus. The moment we stepped out of the car, we were engulfed with the sweet smell of popcorn, the stench of gasoline. When we finally got up to the circus, we saw all of the usual circus attractions, jugglers, clowns, performances in a tent, and even animals in cages, but we couldn't help but notice that there were no cage wagons. One cage held, or barely held, a tiger. It was a small tiger, but still a tiger. Every so often it would pace in a counterclockwise motion and rub its side up against the bars facing the crowd. It's as if it were looking for its next victim. Began to wonder, is that cage sturdy enough to hold the tiger? Why does that tiger keep rubbing its flank up against the side of the cage? I decided to mention my concern to Father. That cage doesn't look very secure, I told him. Oh, I'm sure the circus people know what they're doing. That cage must be sturdy enough to hold the tiger. It seems that every time the tiger bumps the cage, it shudders. David retorted. Looks like you're shuddering. Father once again expressed confidence in the situation, saying, I'm gonna stay here a little bit longer. You can head back to the car if you'd like. Yeah, Mom can comfort you, David said. He was always trying to baby me, even though I was older. So just like that, I headed back to the car, and David soon returned, saying that he too had seen enough. Where's Dad? Mother asked. Oh, he was enjoying the tiger cage. He'll be joining us a little bit later. It wouldn't be too difficult to find Father if we had to. He had a dark jacket, light trousers, and had noticeable white hair. As I was looking up toward the circus, I saw a familiar sight. It was Dad, and he was running. Short distance behind him was a group of people, also running. I excitedly pointed to what I had seen and shouted, Hey look, Dad's being chased by a group of people. We all hopped out of the car and ran to meet him. As he approached the parking barriers, he leaped and simultaneously turned to his left. Some of the group headed back to their cars, while others came to see us. Is everything all right? Mom asked. Yeah, I sure hope so. That tiger was about to shake the cage loose. Others added on, yeah, the paw was right next to my foot. Thought for sure it was gonna get out. We all enjoyed a little bit of laughter, but not for long, because a thunderous roar came from the circus behind, and we all ran back to our cars, causing a chain reaction of closing car doors. As we waited, Mom commented, I didn't realize you could run and jump the way you did. Yeah, Dad was doing track and field, David added on. That's how I used to run during air raids. He was referring to wartime Italy. We all wondered if the circus was still open. A few moments later, a low-toned man's voice came over the loudspeaker. We welcome you to our circus. Everything is now safe and secure. The main event will occur shortly. Moments after the loudspeaker crackled off, the man began walking toward the car. Mom waved him over and asked if everything was okay. He said that everything was now safe and secure, but the tiger was able to slip its paw underneath the cage and got squeezed. That's when we heard the roar. Mom thanked the man and said goodbye. Father looked around and asked if any of us wanted to head back up to the circus. We all nodded in unison. We had had enough excitement for one day. So just like that, we rolled up the windows, turned the radio on, and headed home to watch a baseball game.
That was wonderful, Cam. Thank you so much. Great story, Joe. Joe has some wonderful stories he always shares with us. That was a fun one. Very good. Our next storyteller is with us for her first year. She is a 5th grader at Gray's, and unfortunately, because that means I can't grab her next year for storytelling, she's going on to the middle school. But we did invite her to be part of this program this year, and we hope she will stay with us next year as well. She has wonderful storytelling ability. She told in tandem a folktale last year, well this year at the Storytelling Festival with Kennedy. Kennedy, stand up for a second. With Kennedy, that's Cameron's sister. Give her a round of applause. Oh, storytelling runs in the family, I love that. But she's telling solo this year, and she's actually telling my mother-in-law's story, Shirley Chase. Wave over there, Shirley. Give a wave. And we know you'll be delighted with her performance. She has a lot of exuberance and energy, and she puts her own fun and fresh spin on Shirley's story, Almost 40. Please welcome Nora Smith.
Smith, and I will be telling Shirley Chase's story, Almost 40. I was born and raised during the Great Depression, where women didn't have many choices and men did. I got married young at 18 and bought a house. And then I decided, and then life was good, and I decided I wanted to go to college. And so, one night over dinner, I wanted to ask my husband if I could go back to college. And so, I decided I should dress nice, so I dressed nicely, and I made his favorite dinner spaghetti, and it smelled like heaven. And then I set the table, and I asked him, Ray, I want to go back to college, or go to college. And he said, well, no. And I said, well, it will bring more money into the house and help pay for our son's college tuition. And he said, okay. And so the next week I went to the college, and I went to ask them if I could take some classes. And they said, you have to take a math class and 2 foreign languages. And so I walked out pretty disappointed, but I knew it was okay. And then I wanted to get out of the house, so I decided to go get a job at Aponequid. And I became a lunch lady there, and after talking to some of the other students, I decided I would ask the principal, Mr. Joseph, about it. And so I was nervous because he could make fun of me or something because I was almost 40 at that point. And so I went to go talk to him, and he said, I said, hi, Mr. Joseph, I want to take 2 math classes, a math class and 2 foreign languages classes. And he said, well, why do you want to take them? And I said, because I wanted to go to college, and the college said that I needed to take these classes. And so he said, I'll talk to my superiors. And so I walked out of there nervous, because what if he didn't say that I could get in? So then I got a phone call a couple days later, and it said that I got in. I was super excited. And so the next month I started going to school. And it was great. I got A's in all of my classes. I aced all my tests, and then finally, I finally finished. And so I went back to the college, and they said I needed to take 2 more tests. I was nervous when I walked out because what if I didn't pass the tests? And so then I took the test, and I was waiting anxiously for the phone call that would say I either got in or I didn't. And finally, I got the phone call a couple days later, and they said I got in. I was super excited. And so I started going to college, and then when I finished, I was super excited to see that my first paycheck would help pay for my son's college tuition.
I'd like to say that, thank you very much, Nora, you did a beautiful job with that. And if that little boy that's in that picture right there, is that gentleman right there. Okay, so please welcome Cameron Poirier and Lexi True. Sharon.
I could just hold it. I hope that.
Now look at that, that's commitment. He's gonna purchase and he's still. So they're gonna share this story.
This story is called Letters from Far Away. June 20th, 2020. A good day to open the box in a perfect pandemic project. Over the course of 57 years, I've lived in 4 states and even a different country. There lay over 200 letters from Mom and Dad and me. They consist of days, weeks, months, and years that I was on active duty as a U.S. Coast Guard between 1964 and 1968. However, they have not yet to be opened. I picked up a loose letter on the top pile and read it. Dear son. Mom, I exclaimed. I was surprised by the tears started rolling down my cheek. I picked through the letters and placed them in order of dates. It's now becoming a living novel. Several years, all becoming one letter, 57 years later. I picked up the first 2 letters that went between my parents and myself, and they included many loving words that consisted of telling me all about boot camp and endless orders, marching, and chaos. I told them I would write to them when I could, as I was living through a tough winter full of snow and ice at the time. They responded with excitement and were full of content to know I had made it through the first couple of weeks of only the beginning of my future as a Coast Guard. It's an eye-opening thing to think that Mom would now be 114 years old and Dad 122. What would they say about all the twists and turns I've taken since my days of being 17? Mom's handwriting had style. There was something to it that was clear, bold, and memorable. Her handwritten letters, the soft silkiness of her penmanship, is what kept me going. Some letters made me laugh about adventures she was sharing with Dad, which broke the silence of my loneliness. I would read her sentences over and over. Each time I read, her words touched my heart even more. One day when I was looking through the letters, I became overwhelmed with sadness. These powerful feelings suddenly caught me off guard. I missed Dad. Mom always included him when talking about things he was doing, yet I wanted more. I wanted what I had with Mom. I wanted to see his distinctive handwriting. I wanted to hear his words, not just from Mom. I wanted to touch his thoughts and feelings pressed on ink on paper. And then I began thinking about the technology of our time today and how this profound experience wouldn't have been possible with instant emails and texting and phone calls. By 1965, it had been a year since leaving boot camp, and I was a seaman aboard the Coast Guard team. In my next letters to Mom and Dad, I talked about my location, about being several hundred miles off the coast of Greenland, in the seas reaching almost 60 feet high. It was a tough lifestyle considering that during my watches I was tied to the side of the ship, breaking off ice with nothing but a baseball bat. But never mind the constant snow that never seemed to let up.
second-class officer working in my own personal office. I joined a large family that fell in love with me, and I them. That was my home away from home that I walked 6 miles to every weekend for 6 years. While I was working in my office, I watched a naval officer throw away several large rolls of pillow paper they could not use. I grabbed a roll. From then on, Mom and Dad were going to be receiving my letters in feet rather than pages. Once I started writing, I couldn't stop. Feet became guards. I was laying out my heart and soul, my hopes and my dreams, all in one. I pictured Mom with her long black hair sitting at the kitchen table writing her worries when I mentioned my marriage. She'd say, "Dearest, I miss you already. There are plenty of girls to marry in the States." On May 1st, 1967, I sent my 134-foot letter home. Yep, my 134-foot letter. The postmaster said that it should get to Mom and Dad by the 16th, which happened to be Dad's birthday, which to me seemed like a perfect gift. A couple of weeks later, I received a letter back saying that they had indeed received the letter on Dad's birthday. It took about 3 hours to read, and Mom says that when they finished reading, she saw the look of pride and joy on Dad's face. A week later, I had noticed from my commanding officer that there was a letter from the sheriff's department back home. This seemed strange to me. I had just received a letter from Mom and Dad. Why would there be another one so soon? When I opened it up, my hopeful delight changed into remorse. The letter wrote that Dad had died. I didn't know what to do. That is when, 57 years later, in 2020, that I started reading all these letters and reminded myself of those forgotten memories. A year later, in February of 2021, I was down to the last 4 letters that had yet to be read. It was a very late night, so I decided to set them aside for the next day. As I was pushing away the letters, I noticed the next letter I was going to read was different. It was not Mom's handwriting on the envelope, but it was addressed exactly the same way as it usually was. I opened the envelope and quickly skimmed to the very bottom of the page, where it read, "Love, Dad." Tears came streaming down my cheek. "Dad!" I yelled. This letter was from 8 months before he died. His letter read, "Dear Winnie, I'm writing to you because your mother has been busy at night and hasn't had any time to read. Right. It rained yesterday, and the road to the woods was too wet to haul logs today. It was Dad's habit of reading from the Bible every morning before going out to the barn to milk the cows. This particular morning, he told me he read about Jesus being baptized by God, saying, 'This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased.'"
At the end of Dad's letter, he wrote those exact words. "You are my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Love, Dad."
This was Dad's first, last, and only letter before he died. My 134-foot letter was the last that he received from me. Dad and I never knew that 57 years ago, we would be saying goodbye to each other, and that we would never see each other again, so far away.
Meanwhile, you stay right here then. The students become the teacher. Thank you, yeah. I'm telling the next story, why is it gonna move? Thank you, Boston and Lexi, that was a beautiful job. Lindsay, do you agree? Thank you. And that letter, get out of the way for a minute, that letter right there is the letter they're talking about, he's talking about in the story, and that letter is over there in the museum. So it's pretty amazing that he still has that. What a great story. Our next tellers, they're telling in tandem, which means they're telling the story together, and every year they do this. And as we mentioned before, that we always pair up the students and the seniors together, and we always mix them up, so they get to, know some of the other seniors, and, get to have a bit of a conversation with them and form a bond. But these two, when they first came, they told Pat Creneen's first story. And They were so funny, they did such a great job, and they connected so well with Pat and Pat with them, that every year we pair them up together. We just can't. We can't break up. It's like a comedy team. We just can't do it. Now, they're sophomores at Aquinnah now. They've been with us since 2017. And if you've ever heard them tell Pat stories before, there is always something every year when they get a new story, they grab something from one of the older stories and bring it in. It's just a little touch, a little historical reference, and it's always really funny. So please welcome Boston Paquette and Austin Pelletier sharing Pat Crineen's story, Eileen and Me.
Yeah, he was up here last time. Yeah, you already know.
Hi, my name is Boston Paquette.
My name is Austin Pelletier.
We're telling Pat Crineen's story.
Eileen and Me. The sun crept through my windowsill that late June morning. My older siblings had already gone off to their summer jobs, so I had the apartment relatively to myself. Like a master chef with the ingredients at my fingertips, it was a day for me to create. I didn't know, however, that today would be peppered with some fear.
This one particular day, I was eating breakfast at the kitchen table when my sister Jane walked in. Jane was only a few years older than me, so she didn't have a summer job yet, which meant during the summer we got to spend a lot of time together.
Hey, Pat! What do you feel like doing today? I don't know. I thought you had some ideas. I really hope she did. Growing up in the South Bronx, especially back then, was a pretty bad place. That's why my mom never let me go out and play with some of the neighborhood kids. I usually had to stay up in the apartment watching one of the 3 channels we got on the old box TV.
Oh, well, like today's like really hot outside. Want to go to the beach?
I thought that was a great idea. On a day like today, who wouldn't want to go to the beach?
Is it okay if I call Eileen and see if she wants to go?
Another great idea. Eileen was one of Jane's friends, and admittedly, one of my crushes.
Hey, Eileen, so it's like really hot outside. Do you want to go to the beach?
I didn't even need an answer. I could tell by the expression on Jane's face that Eileen thought it was a great idea too. Out of excitement, I ran to my room and threw on my bathing suit. I had to wait for Jane though. She always takes forever.
Once she was finally ready, we dashed down the 6th flight of stairs and met Eileen in the lobby, and then waited for what felt like an eternity for bus 42 to show up. Finally, we got on bus 38 and headed on our way.
The bus ride there felt like an eternity too, but for a good reason. I got to sit next to Eileen, and I thought we really made a connection out there. When we got to Orchard Beach, however, it wasn't much to look at. It was about a mile long, and there wasn't that much to do. But for kids our age, there was a day's worth of adventures here at least. We chartered a course to go find a place to put down our stuff.
Once we found a place to put down our stuff, we put down our stuff. And I immediately took my shirt off, peeled my socks off as if they were banana peels, and started heading toward the water. But with every step, my feet got hotter and hotter, to the point where it was like I was walking on hot coals. I let out a loud, and I quickly jumped back onto the towel.
Eileen being Eileen, she noticed this. And Eileen being Eileen, she offered to help.
Hey, Pat, is the sand too hot for your feet? Do you want me to carry you?
And just like that, Eileen scooped down and hoisted me over her shoulder. We were on our way to the ocean.
With every step she took, the ocean fumes overcame my senses, till eventually, splash, we were in, and I was ready to get swimming. But Eileen kept walking and walking, and it was getting really deep.
Okay, Eileen, I think we should stop here. I'm not that good at swimming.
No, you'll be fine. Let's keep going.
And walking, and waves were crashing into me now.
It got so bad that Jane even saw that I was literally over my head.
Eileen, you really gotta put him down. He's so bad at swimming.
And she agreed. She threw me over her shoulder back into the shallow end, the cold water hitting my bright red face. I just can't believe that happened in front of Eileen.
We stayed for a few more hours. Sure, I was embarrassed, but it wasn't all that bad. I drank Coca-Cola on the beach, ate some ringdings. At one point, these street performers started singing Neil Diamond. That was cool. But all good things come to an end. And eventually, we got back on bus 25 and headed back home.
The bus ride home felt a lot shorter, thankfully. I was super embarrassed and just wanted the day to be done. We said goodbye to Eileen at the bus stop and went back upstairs.
I opened my door, and then we were back home.
For the next few days, I did think about that day, about the fun and the fear. I will always remember my day with Eileen.
Excellent job. For those that don't know, Neil Diamond is a reference, Ring Ding is a reference from years before, that's where we were at.
Yeah, he did a story of Neil Diamond one year, and the first year was Ring Dings, right? Was it the first year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they always find a way to put that in the story, always cracks that up. So I'll let him know that what a great job you guys did tonight, it was really wonderful. Now, normally, this would be, the end of our stories. However, we have a little surprise for you tonight. Nora, as I said, was a 5th grade storyteller telling a folk tale with Kennedy Poirier, Cameron's sister, and they have both agreed to tell the folk tale tonight. So please welcome Kennedy Poirier and Nora Smith.
You got that?
It's close enough.
Okay, all right, so, here's tell the name of your story.
I'm Nora Smith. And I'm Kennedy Poirier. We will be telling, oh, that's good, no, that's bad.
It was my friend Joe's birthday just last week.
That's good.
Not really, you see, everyone forgot.
Well, that's bad.
Not so bad because we felt guilty, so decided to plan a huge party for her.
That's good.
Not really, because the party was going to be in New York, but Joe was in California.
Well, that's bad.
Not so bad because another friend said he'd fly Joe to the party in his airplane.
Well, that's good.
Not really, because when they were halfway there, the plane ran out of gas.
That's bad.
Not so bad because luckily there were 2 parachutes on the plane.
Well, that's good.
Not really, because Joe's parachute didn't open.
Well, that's bad.
Not so bad because under them there was a huge haystack.
Well, that's good.
Not really, because sticking out of the haystack was the biggest pitfall Joe has ever seen.